Choosing the right protein powder can make a huge difference in your diet, in your strength gains, and just in your life generally. I've been using protein powders for nearly 2 decades, and there are 3 very important things that you need to look in a protein powder. I'm actually going to show you my favorite ones today. The first thing you need to look for is that it is grass-fed protein. I know this doesn't sound like it's that important. We have a lot of discussions going on with this. If you dig into some of the studies, it seems like the vitamin and mineral content isn't that different. What I'm really concerned about is the toxicity in fat. Fat stores toxins. It's the same with the human body as any other animal. If your body needs to store a toxin to keep it out of essential or important organs, things like that, it's going to put it in fat cells. It can safely store it there. So if cows are excessively fed foods or grains that are sprayed with pesticides, with glyphosate, things like that, it can end up in your way. We do not want this to end up in your body because we're trying to be as healthy as possible, get all the gains we can, and the thing that you're taking that should help is actually hurting you because you're not paying attention to the quality of the whey. So this is Muscle Feast. I've used almost every product that they offer as far as their wheys go. I really, really love what they do. Prices have gone up over the years. That's to be expected, but this is a 100% grass-fed whey. And the second thing that's important, especially when we're looking at a whey protein, we have some other proteins I'm gonna show you here in a second, but is that it's cold filtered. We wanna make sure that the whey isn't cooked, that it isn't denatured, because we wanna get all of the nourishment we possibly can out of that whey. So Muscle Feast makes a cold filtered grass-fed whey, which is absolutely amazing. This version here is actually a mix. So they make isolates, concentrates, and hydrolyzed. There's a lot of versions out there, and maybe the question is, which do I buy? I really like the concentrates because we do get some of the fat, and it's a little bit cheaper usually. This is a blend of all 3, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. So if you want benefits of every form there is, 100% grass-fed whey from Muscle Feast is one of my favorites. Now there are other wheys that have come onto the scene, and I've for a long time only used whey proteins. I've used some really crappy ones. I've used some really amazing ones. And the thing that I learned is that whey protein isn't for everyone, especially if you're already drinking a lot of milk. Maybe you want to get a different type of protein in your diet. So the third thing I want to look at is what type of protein are you actually ingesting and actually getting? So when you look at your diet, you probably have red meat, maybe chicken, eggs, different sources of proteins in there. And so potentially you want a different source of protein from the shakes that you're drinking as well. This right here is Mark Bell's steak shake. Absolutely love the flavor of this. And the cool thing here is it's not just a whey protein. We have a blend of other types of proteins, which I really appreciate. So in this one, we get whey protein, we get beef protein, and we get egg protein. So there could be some sensitivities there with the egg or different things like that. I haven't had any issues with this one. This is one of the best tasting wheys that I've had out there, at least that is not just a straight whey. It's very, very delicious. Also, bonus here is that it has an organ blend in it. And if you guys haven't been following people like Paul Saladino or heard some of the Liver King stuff, whether your opinion on that is good or bad, that's not for this video, but what is important to know is that organs really are the most nutrient dense part of an animal. If we're looking at what superfoods are, really it is heart, liver, any of the organs. They have certain things that we don't get in our normal diet. So I really appreciate that Mark incorporated some of that into his shake here. Now, again, when we're looking at anything beef, we want grass-fed. That is very, very important. And Mark does that again with all of his organs, with all of his whey and his beef protein, all grass-fed. And so that's really important. The one thing that I don't love about this is that the organ blend is a 1/30th of an ounce, which is very, very small. You can't taste it, which is great. It's just very small for the cost. And we'll get into the cost here in a second, but I have a bonus thing you should look for in your protein shakes. Now, again, this whey in particular might be a little controversial if you know who owns this brand, things going on with it. All of that aside, one thing that I really, really appreciate about this protein is that it does have 1/2 ounce of organ equivalent blend in here, and you can't taste it. I can, when I mix it up, actually blend this in a little NutriBullet blender to make sure there's no chunks. You can't taste it, but you can definitely tell that they're there if you don't shake it up well enough. So bonus is to look for extra nutrition you're not getting other places. And so for a whey protein, you're probably getting enough protein, or you're using it to supplement. You could eat maybe another ground beef patty or another steak or another chicken breast and replace the whey. It's much easier to drink it. Don't have to eat as much. Something like this over here, maybe you're not getting eggs, maybe you're not getting a little bit of those organs. Maybe this offers a little bit extra, but this right here offers 1/2 ounce of organ blend. I'm not eating 1/2 ounce of organs every day, which this absolutely can help replace that. I do have another solution we'll talk about here in one second, but I do want to make sure that when you're looking at wheys, you are looking at what they're actually supposed to be there for. If you just want the cheapest option, just trying to replace, having to eat an extra snack, maybe a whey protein that's grass-fed, that's cold processed is the way to go. You get a concentrate, don't get a blend. That's going to be as cheap as possible and still very, very high quality. Now maybe you're on the other spectrum and you're like, I just want to be as healthy as possible. I want to get as many gains and build as much muscle as possible. And you want to add a little bit something extra. So there are a couple of ways to do this here. But let's look at the cost of these three, and then we can kind of go into the other option that I have for you. So on the far end here with the grass-fed whey, if you get the whey concentrate, not the 100% whey, you're looking at about 95 cents up to $1.05. Depends on if they have sales. I often see this on sale on Amazon. All of these, if I do anything, I do subscribe and save. So you do save some that way. I'm giving you full prices though. And this, comes out to 95 cents to $1.05 per scoop. You're getting 20 grams of protein. So you need to do the calculation. Maybe it is worth it to eat some meat, but maybe the quality meat that you're eating is more expensive, so this works. Whatever it is, however you're doing your diet, I think this is a great option. If we move over, if you don't do subscribe and save, this is $2 per scoop. So this is double, if not very close to double. You're getting 26 grams of protein, so a little bit more, a little bit of an organ blend, but you do get the beef protein, you get the egg protein, and the whey protein. So you get a little bit of blend here. It's double the price though. This protein here in the center is also double the price. It's the same as over here. It's $60 for 30 servings, but you only get 21 grams of protein. So you get less protein, but you get half an ounce of organs. So really budget is going to come into play here. Should you eat more food? Should you do a shake? What shake should you do? It's going to depend on where you're at. I'll give you my recommendations. But one thing to remember is that if you do want to do the whey, if that's your favorite option, maybe you've tried some of these, you don't like it, you can also add some desiccated organ supplements. I use Heart and Soil, love them. There's a lot of different blends that they have, but these run between $1.50 and $2 per ounce of organs. And so if you're going to add them to this over here to get the equivalent, you're almost at the same price as this, especially once you do subscribe and save. I mean, they all are discounted a little bit, but it's really close to the same price. So just depends on what you want to do. I'm going to tell you what I do here in a second, but if I have to rank these as far as my personal favorite, I'm going to go 1, 2, and then 3 because I'm trying to get more organs in my diet. I feel better the more that I've been able to incorporate them. This makes it a little easier to add a little bit extra on top of what I'm already doing. This really is a great option on the low end. If you want a good beef protein, I would go over here. This is mostly whey, so it's a mix. I absolutely love the flavor of Mark's Steak Shake, but it doesn't win out when I see some of the other options on the market. So let's talk about how I take protein, what I do, and hopefully this will help you decide what protein you should buy this year. Okay, so I do have the two options here. So this whey over here we actually use for my wife. She just wants a whey that goes into her smoothie. Wants it to be easy. We actually have the vanilla version of this exact whey upstairs. That's hers, and that's what she uses. And it blends beautifully. It tastes amazing. It's great. So if you want just a whey protein, you don't want, if this feels weird to you, go with this. Muscle Feast is absolutely phenomenal. I have a link to this down in the description. Go with Muscle Feast. They're great. I absolutely love what they're doing over there. What I do, however, is I actually have 3 blends from Heart and Soil that I take daily, and I take a full dose. I don't have the third one here with me, but I'll actually do a full video on Heart and Soil supplements in the future. But I actually use 2 to 3 servings of this a day. I know that sounds expensive. I also am buying grass-fed, grass-finished beef from a ranch nearby, and so that's also expensive. So this works out to be a bit cheaper per gram of protein based on the meat that I'm actually eating. And for every scoop, I'm getting an extra ½ ounce of organs, whereas 1 serving of these is an ounce each. So getting 3 ounces from the supplements taken over here and 1 to 1½ ounces from the protein that I'm taking. So one of the questions I know you're going to ask is, how does this mix? How does it taste? It has a ½ ounce of organs. There's no way it can taste good. Let's answer those really, really quickly. So number 1, it tastes phenomenal. I'm very, very shocked at how good it tastes. Number 2, it doesn't mix super well. It does take a while if you're going to mix it in just like a shaker cup. It can mix. It absolutely can. If you have maybe an extra large shaker cup compared to the amount of fluid that you have in there and just shake really, really vigorously, it can mix up, but it's not the greatest mixing. So a small personal mixer and blend this up for 10 seconds does the trick. It's super, super easy. It's just a little bit hard when you're doing it with just a blender cup, something like that. So I do have the chocolate version here. I actually have the vanilla version on the way as well, because I do also drink a smoothie, not every day, but pretty close. I'll throw some Bulgarian yogurt in there, some organic fruit, and some local milk. We have a dairy that we buy our milk from, and I'll throw a scoop of the vanilla protein in there. There's a huge, huge difference. I've noticed that if you're going to buy supplements to really supplement your gains, supplement your health, you really need to focus on the things that matter most. It's not just the macros of protein, carbohydrates, and fat. It's what vitamins, minerals, toxins, micronutrients, what are you putting in your body and what aren't you putting in your body? Is your water clean? There's a lot of things here, a lot of things I'm excited to talk about on this channel, but this protein for me this year is absolutely number 1. I will be testing this for probably the entire year unless I have some brands reach out and they want me to try their stuff as well. But this is the winner for me. This is number 1. This is the protein that I'm using. So how I do this is I actually make a shake with the chocolate in the morning, 16 ounces of milk, 2 scoops of this whey, mix it up in the blender. I do about 12 ounces in the blender first and then add the other 4 ounces later so there's enough room in there to blend. But this is my favorite way to start the day. have good breakfast. Sometimes I'll have some yogurt with organic fruit and honey, things like that. But I really feel if I get the protein early in the morning, my brain works so much better, whether I'm working out or not. That's not as big of a concern. We do want to spike muscle protein synthesis. That is something that's really, really important. I'm going to talk more here on the channel about some of those things. I do have a degree in nutrition and pathophysiology, so I haven't really shared in-depth knowledge that way on this channel, but I'm going to start doing that. So we do want to spark that in the morning because there are only so many times that you can spark it per day. There's a time frame. So you can initiate that muscle protein synthesis. It's going to run its cycle, and then it's going to die waiting for another bolus of protein, typically 30 to 40 grams to be able to start that. There's some other signals in the protein. Quality protein matters, but we want to spark muscle protein synthesis as often as possible, be able to maintain as much muscle as possible, to build as much muscle as possible. And one of the ways to do that is to start your day right with a good dose of protein. I would say at least 40 grams, probably closer to 50 depending on how big you are, but this is one of the ways I do it. 2 scoops of this and 16 ounces of milk. Now the vanilla shake, that is made into a smoothie. That's either going to be my post-workout drink, depending on what I'm doing that day or what I'm eating, and then it can also just be a snack later in the day if I get hungry. I use that one as a variable. Some days I don't drink it, some days I do, but that one is there in case I'm feeling a little extra hungry or I just don't have time to eat a good meal after I work out. Now, if you do want to pick up some of the Whole Feast or any of the Heart and Soil supplements, the other proteins I mentioned, they're down in the description below. So you can go ahead and click there and check them out. So for this year, the best protein that you can buy is the Whole Feast here. Absolutely love it. It's been a game changer to be able to get more organs into my diet, something that I'm going to be talking about, but I feel like a key ingredient missing in so many of our diets is the most nutritious part of the animals that we already eat every day. So I'll be talking more about that. And if you want to see a video covering my favorite pre-workout supplement, go ahead and click this video right here. We're going to cover all the details over there. So click right here. I'll see you there.